Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to lecture 5 of APM. In this, we are going to go through the business structure because the business structure also impacts your performance. So, organizational form and performance management. First, we are going to go through the functional form, then divisionalized form, network organization, then under the modern service oriented business, we are going to go through the needs of traditional manufacturing, service industry, and management accounting needs in the service industry. See, now there has been a change from manufacturing industry to service industry. Whatever the tools, budget, variance, if you see, they're very much applicable for manufacturing industry. But for service industries, we have to come up with some new tools to measure the performance because they are not so much applicable for the service industry. Later, we'll see in this lecture why they are not so much suitable for service industry. Then we are going to go through BPR, Business Process Re-engineering, in depth. What it is, what is business process? First we'll understand, then we'll understand business process re-engineering, known as BPR. Then what are the principles of BPR? How do we implement BPR? Influence of BPR on your system development, evaluation of BPR, like advantages and disadvantages. Then under business integration, we are going to go through the meaning, Porter's value chain, McKinsey's 7S framework, because there are 7S. It starts with S. Okay, and there are 7 of them. That's why known as 7S framework. Then information system. Then changing the structure, culture, and strategy. So we'll see the influence of these three on the performance measurement. And finally, we are going to conclude with the syllabus, summary, and technical articles. So the main objective of this lecture is to explore all the business structure, the three business structure, and we are going to go to the service industry and also other factors on the management accounting practice of an organization. So the three forms, and then service industry, then BPR, and integration, and changing the structure, culture, and strategy. So these are the 5 areas which we are going to cover in this lecture. Now, starting with the form. First one is functional form. The structure. Okay. This is the traditional structure of a business where we have several departments and each department has different functions. For example, we have sales department, finance department, production department. Now, this is how an organizational chart who is functionally organized looks like. So as you can see, it's a hierarchy. In the top level, you can see the director. Then below the director, there are all the functions: production, human resource, finance, information, sales. Under production, there are 2 more: procurement and manufacturing, and finance has financial reporting, management accounting. Okay. Now, what are the implications of performance management for this type of functional structure? Number 1, all the department has to coordinate, and directors are the one who will perform this coordinating role. Next, directors will have the responsibilities. They are going to have a functional oversight and they are going to set a high level strategic role. So that's why these directors require detailed information from all the levels below them to make a decision. And the budget and the management accounts will be based on this structure. So each department will have their budget. And if you see, most departments, since they are cost center, their budgets will show budgeted cost. Okay, and only directors will see the budget and the actual report that will include the profit. Next, very difficult to see where the profit and losses are made. Why? Because you are not likely to get information that is available for the profit by the product. You can't see what is the profit by the product. To get that information is difficult because many of the organization costs are overheads like financing cost. And approaches such as activity-based costing will include the overhead cost in the product cost, and it's very difficult to apply if the functional information is siloed. Very difficult to see where you can add value. Activity 1. So this is how the management accounting information will look like for a functional form. Okay, A, information will be centralized. Management at the top will require detailed information from those below them. Information will flow up and down. Okay, Very little of information will follow horizontally between the functions. It's top bottom or bottom up. And in terms of budgeting, it's top down. And if you want to analyze the profitability, for example, you want to see information by customer or by product, it's very difficult, because it's very difficult to allocate the expenses of the different function for each product and service. You can't just allocate the expense to sales department, IT department, or finance department based on product and service. It's difficult under this form. Next form, division form. Here, divisions are created where divisional managers runs their business area as they wish. So it's more decentralized and they have more freedom. Here, divisions will be based on the geographical area or along the product line. Each division is organized along the functional line. Each division may be a separated legal entity that is owned by the parent. Now, what are the implications on your performance? Here, divisional managers, unlike the functional manager, they are given more autonomy. So the head office will not be involved in the operational matter. Okay, they will only require high level information like summary. All the detailed information is with the divisional manager, such as division's return on investment. The top level people, the head office will want that only. What is the return on investment from each division? But the challenge for the head office is to ensure that the divisional directors are managing their divisions well. That means they all are contributing towards the organization's goal. Okay. If you are a commercial organization, main objective is what? Maximize shareholders' wealth. So in this case, divisional manager has to work towards those goals that will maximize the shareholders' wealth. Now, what are the informational needs of divisional organizations? Head office will not require detailed information, but they will require higher level measures. For example, return on investment, residual income, and economic value added. Now, non-financial KPIs may supplement this divisional performance measures, which we are going to cover later in lecture 10. And divisional managers will not require detail, they will require the detailed information, because based on that only they will see how well they are managing the division. Okay. And these managers will decide for themselves what information they want. Now, activity 2. So you have to explain how the information need will differ for a division versus functional organization. So here, the information under functional is received by top management and is very detailed. But in a division, the division is accountable to the top management. So here, top management are less detailed. Okay, information that goes to top management will be less detailed under division. And high level information, such as they will want the divisional profit and the cash flow of the division, and whether the division is achieving the other corporate objective, for example, market share. Now, network organization, the third. So what are the types of network? Here, network organization is a collection of autonomous business unit. They coordinate and they behave like a single large organization. So here, internal networks, they will see the unit as a separate profit center and they will encourage them to sell outside the organization as well as inside. Okay, corporate headquarters, they act as a broker. So the reason for this is units have to work. Okay, if they have to work, they have to set the price by the market, and this is more efficient. A stable network, if you're having a stable network, you can outsource much of your work. And if you are dynamic network, okay, so dynamic network outsource even more dramatically, where majority of the functions are outsourced, even including your core business activity, where the head office coordinates everything. Example 1, fashion industry. If you see an example of fashion industry, it's a type of network industry only. It's a very good example. So here, all functions of this industry are outsourced. Okay. So they do not employ designer and staff to manufacture the clothes. Rather, they will give it to someone else to do this. Okay. So they will coordinate the design and the manufacture of the clothes by the organization to which they have outsourced. If you see H&M, a very well-known fashion, okay, they are very global brand. They have outsourced their production and the processing of their product to different countries. Majority of their clothes comes from Asia and Southeast Asia. They are manufactured there because of low wage. Okay. Now, what are the implications on performance management? Use of outsourcing means you have to manage the network organization. You have to very well be involved with all the various organizations who is giving you the product. Okay. So, use of outsourcing means that the management of the network organization can avoid becoming involved in the detailed control of the activities that have been outsourced. Now, the manager, they can avoid. They do not need the detailed information because they don't have to control the activity that are done by the outsourced. So performance management will likely to be focused on whether or not the partners are providing an appropriate level of quality for the price. You have to check that. And also the organization will see whether the supplies are complying with the ethical standard or not. So even though outsourcing makes managing easier, but there are some problems with it. First, you have to rely on third party. And sometimes when you rely on the third party, you are relying on a third party for your critical business process. And if if the third party do not perform up to that level, it can affect your reputation. Second, loss of confidentiality. You can't keep any information confidential. You must share it with them. Third, when you're setting your performance measures and targets, it has to be agreed with the partners also. And it's not easily to monitor this accurately because they might want to hide the bad news and they might only want to show you the good news. Because now there's a third party that is involved. So example 2, Apple is a good example of that. Okay, Apple, we all know, the manufacturer of iPhone, iPad, Mac computer, they use outsourcing partner. So this is the following statement that is there in the Apple's annual report, which is explaining some of the risk of outsourcing. Remember, you don't have to memorize these examples. This is just for your understanding. I've included here. So if you see, almost all of the company's manufacturing is performed by the outsourcing partners. Okay. So yes, by outsourcing, you might lower the operating cost, but it reduces the company's direct control over the production distribution. So because control has been diminished, there has been from time to time some adverse effect on the quality and the quantity also. Okay. Even though the arrangements are there were some clauses that says that what you should do if there's a product defect. Okay. So in that case, the company will remain responsible for the customer for warranty, not your outsourced partners. And while the company is relying on their partner to comply with the supplier's code of conduct, but they might violate that. Okay, that violation of supply code might occur from time to time, possible, and it can materially affect your business, your reputation, and your financial condition as well. Now, what are the information requirement of this organization? Head office has a coordinating role here, and these are the information that is required. First, non-financial performance indicator that relates to the performance of your partners. You might want to see how well your partner is doing in the context of non-financial matter. For example, you want to see the quality of goods that they are manufacturing and the number of on-time deliveries. Next, you might want to see the information about the prices that are charged by the partners. Are they acting based on the service level agreement? Then you have to see whether they are complying with the company's ethical, environmental, health and safety standard. Information about the partner's performance, you can get it through integrated IT system also. And if there is an audit that can be done on the supplier, even better. Next, we are moving on to the traditional manufacturing business. What are the accounting needs for a manufacturing industry? See, if you see much of the management accounting ideas, they were developed thinking about manufacturing industries only because they were developed way earlier. Okay, service industries suddenly, I mean, today they are becoming important. Earlier, it was manufacturing industry that was dominating. So we'll now consider in this section how the management accounting differs between the two industry, manufacturing versus service. Okay, manufacturing good. You see, they are very standardized. Same product is made in the assembly line. Differentiation is not so much. So that's why the objective is very simpler to deal with in the manufacturing industry. Okay, so these are the information objectives of the management accounting information for a manufacturing industry. First, cost behavior. In the manufacturing industry, you can the information need is the cost behavior. You can use this once you find the cost. You can use it for planning, for controlling, and for costing or inventory valuation. Next, quality of production. You can measure this against your product specification. It's easier. Next, time taken. You can see how much is the time taken, the bottlenecks to gain more efficiency. Innovation. How fast new products are coming. Valuation. Even in just-in-time manufacturing, you have to value the inventory. Okay. Why you might want to value the inventory? For other purpose, to price the inventory. Okay. Now, service industry. But in the service industry, there are 4 characteristics of service that makes the performance measurement difficult in the manufacturing industry. You can easily remember them as SHIP. S stands for simultaneity or inseparability. That means services you cannot easily separate. Okay, services, the time it is being produced, you are consuming it. So simultaneously, consumption is happening while it has been produced. For example, me, right now what I'm doing is a service that I'm giving you. Teaching is a service. The moment I'm recording the lecture, you are observing it. So here, an organization cannot stop the customer from experiencing poor service. So since you are consuming it simultaneously, if I am performing poorly, you can help it. You can get avoid the poor experience. But if it's a product, it's very easy. If you are having a poor quality, you can stop. Once you go through a sample, you can see where the defect is, and you try to correct, and then you start improving the quality. With services, it's difficult. Next, heterogeneity and variability. Services are very varied. They are not homogeneous product. They are not similar. Each time, even the same person, if they are giving the service, each time they give the service will be different. So here, to standardize the quality of service is very challenging. Third, I stands for service you cannot touch or it cannot be viewed. It's intangible. So it's difficult for customers to know in advance the quality of service. See, quality of product, you can go by word of mouth. You can hear from the customers, but not quality of service. It's different for every person. Perishability. Services cannot be stored and kept. Okay. So organizations, therefore, they should have sufficient resource. They should have sufficient people to meet adequate services to meet the peak demand. Okay. Now, so the accounting needs in service industries are different from manufacturing industries. But the objective more or less will be same only. So the differences is here the emphasis is on the quality of service. But the quality of service, as I told you, is difficult to measure because simultaneous and heterogeneity. And because of intangibility, you have to identify the quality measures. Then service industries provides personalized service based on the specific customer's needs. Therefore, you can't define a standard cost. For every customer, the cost might be different. So, hence, variance analysis for service industry is difficult to do. And if you see in the service industry, a higher portion of the cost is in the overhead, which means in this case, activity-based costing is more appropriate for service industry. Next, you are having more contact with the customer, but in the manufacturing environment, the contact with the customer is not so much. Why? Because the product is made in the factory and then it goes to the customer. Because it's perishable, Organizations have to have a right balance between the having sufficient resource to meet the peak demand. So here the emphasis is on resource utilization. Now, the appropriate cost per unit is harder to define in the service industry. For example, in hospital, you can find out the cost unit that could be for patients, beds, or even doctor. But a composite cost unit, such as bed nights or passenger kilometer, might need to be used. Now, activity 3. So you have to identify some aspect of quality for an airline service that are important for a frequent travel. Okay. So let's say, see, when you're going in an airline, think from yourself. What are the things you would want to see? You would always want to see that the flights are punctual, the speed of check-in is fast, seat is comfortable, quality of the food is up to standard, then they have a safety record, the attitude of staff is friendly, and you're having all the entertainment. So these are the information that the service industries might require. First, monetary information. Next, non-financial quantitative information, for example, market share. Then qualitative information, something that cannot be expressed in number. Next, we are moving to BPR. Before we go through business process re-engineering, you have to first understand what is the meaning of business process. Business process are the activities that are carried out within an organization. One process may spread across several departments. So business processes are set of linked activities that will have an input. You will transform it into an output by a process. Okay. So that transformation will occur. That means you will add a value to the input and you will create an output. That is the meaning of business process. Now, a business method. Business process is also called a business method. Or a business process is a collection of interrelated tasks that can solve an issue. There are 3 types of business processes. First, management process. Processes that govern the operation of a system. For example, your corporate governance. Operational process. They are your core business and they are your primary value stream. Okay. For example, purchase, manufacturing, marketing, sales. These are operational process. Third, supporting process. They will support your core process. For example, recruitment and IT. Because see, even though you have a best product, without the staff, without recruiting good quality staff, and without IT technology, you can't sell it. So you need the help of this IT and recruitment and also accounting. So these are supporting process. So 3 process: management, operational, supporting. Business process re-engineering. Okay, it's a fundamental rethinking, and you are redesigning a business process to achieve a dramatic improvement in the critical measures of performance. For example, you want to reduce your cost, you might want to improve the quality, you might want to speed up something, and you want to give a good quality service. So, cost, quality, service, and speed. If any of these things you want to improve, we will go for a business process re-engineering. Okay. So, when an organization introduces computer systems, they will automate the existing business process. So Hammer and Champy, they have pointed that organizations are missing an opportunity to question whether this business process are even necessary or not. As soon as an IT comes, we want to automate an existing business process. But are we questioning that whether the existing business process is necessary also or not? Or can we just eliminate it altogether? Okay. So Hammer and Champy, they have proposed BPR as a way that organization can achieve a considerable one of improvement in performance. They can improve the performance. So BPR implies starting with a clean sheet of paper and you're designing the business process from the scratch. Business process should only be performed if it adds value. That means it does that something customer wants. Many processes that are performed in paper based manual system becomes unnecessary in the computerized system. BPR is not only about reducing cost, please understand this. It is also concerned with how quickly organizations are responding to customer needs. Then BPR are linked with business automation and business rationalization. But BPR is not automation or rationalization, even though it's linked with it. It's far beyond that. So the keywords for BPR, they are fundamental, they are radical, they are dramatic, and process. What is business automation? Where you are using a computerized method to speed up the process of existing tasks. Business rationalization means you are streamlining the operating procedure to eliminate inefficiency. These two things are different, okay? Now, example 3, Hallmark card. So we'll go through an example of Hallmark card, what they are doing. So they used to spend 3 years earlier to bring a new product. That is, their product is greeting cards. To the market, they take 3 years. So now, because there are more niche markets that has been identified, their executives are now saying that product development process is needed now to redesign the existing process. They want to reduce the time to 3 years because 3 years is a long time. So using BPR, they want to reduce the cycle time to 1 year. And they found that 2/3 of the product cycle was spent on planning and conceptualizing the card rather than actually printing and production. So the concept is that they are now going to spend 90% of the time. Okay. Earlier they used to wait 90% of the time waiting for a creative team member until the final product was finalized. Now they have created a cross-functional team for the product development. They are bringing a new line of cards to market ahead of the schedule. Schedule was what? To bring it from 3 years to 1 year, but now they are making it in 8 months by having cross-functional team. You see, this is known as BPR. It's a radical improvement. Next, principles of BPR. First principle, when you're designing a process, you have to design the process to achieve a desired outcome rather than focusing on existing tasks. 2, the one personnel who is using the output. So personnel who use the output from a process should perform it. The one who is using the output from the process should perform it. This will reduce the bottleneck and delays. 3, information gathering and processing should be performed at the same time. The moment you gather the information, you have to process it. 4, geographically dispersed resource, you have to treat them as if they are centralized. So this will give you the benefit of centralization. For example, economies of scale, okay, without losing the benefit of decentralization. Keep it flexible and responsive also. 5, if you see any parallel activity, they have to be linked rather than integrated. So this will involve coordinating between team working on different aspects of a single process. 6, doers should be allowed for self-managing. If you are the one who is doing it, manage it also. Do not keep a worker and a manager separate. Okay. So here you can use a decision aid. For example, expert system can be provided. 7, information should be captured only once at the source. Electronic distribution makes it very easy. Now let us implement. So these are the 7 principles of BPR. Now we'll implement BPR. There are various methodologies that exist for re-engineering and redesigning business process after you have identified a project area. There are 5-step approach. First, develop a vision and objective. What should be the process objective? The process that you are redesigning, what is the objective of it? You have to identify that. Okay. Remember, BPR is driven by a business vision. Without a vision, you can't go for BPR. Okay. For example, you might want to reduce the cost, you might want to reduce the time, you want to improve the output quality, learning, empowerment. This are your vision. Next, identify the processes that has to be redesigned. Not all the process has to be redesigned. Okay. And especially choose those processes that will have a high impact. So focus on the critical process. Okay, very few organizations will go for that, but if you see some organizations, they attempt all the process. Okay, so they will identify all the process and then they will prioritize them in the order of redesign urgency, which one is more urgent, less urgent, like that. Third, you have to understand and you have to measure the existing process before you implement a new, so that any mistakes are not repeated in the new process. 4, identify the IT levers. Wherever IT can be used, please use them. Fifth, design and build a prototype of the new process. Actual design also, you should not discard them. You should keep it. Okay, remember the actual design of the actual redesign is not the end. It is just a prototype with some successive iterations. That also will be changed. Okay, in the future that also can be changed. Every time you have to keep redesigning. So you should always keep a prototype. Now, the introduction of BPR is going to have this effect on the organization. First, organization structure may reflect the process team rather than functional department. Staff roles will change. Earlier they used to have limited number of tasks. Now they are supposed to work on multiple areas, multi-dimensional work. Staff will be more empowered, especially the frontline staff now, because they can make a decision, okay, without requiring an authorization from senior staff. Next, there is a permanent measurement. Sorry, performance measurement will change. Okay. See, traditionally measures were focused on particular department. For example, cost of marketing department against a budget. But if you look at BPR, it is no longer consistent with BPR. Instead, now the performance measures will focus on the whole process and measure the output against a target. For example, total cost of a sale. This can be helped by activity-based management, which we are going to cover in lecture 15. These are the implications of BPR for accounting systems. Okay, information systems must be based around the process, not departments, to facilitate performance measurement. And it is likely to affect the design of your responsibility centers also. Systems have to be shared across the organization rather than having one system for each functional department. Report has to be based on the value added activity. Now, evaluation. BPR became very popular in 1990s, especially in US. Okay. Even though many organizations have reported excellent performance improvement due to implementing BPR, some were not happy with the result. So advantages. It eliminates a bureaucratic procedure that allows the service business to deal very quickly with customer. For example, US life insurance company. Earlier they used to take 22 days to process a new application. Now they are only taking 5 days after re-engineering. Next, headcount and cost has been saved. Headcount has been reduced. For example, in the Ford, they have reduced the headcount in the accounts payable department by 75% by automating the process. So they have automated the process. How? By matching the purchase order with the receiving document and with invoices. They have automated this process. Next advantage, creating value. They have eliminated non-value added activity. For example, Taco Bell have grew from 500 million revenue company to 3 billion company just in 10 years. How is it possible? Because re-engineering has increased their seating capacity from 30 to 70%. So they have increased the seating capacity from 30 to 70 and reduced the kitchen size from 70 to 30. And regional managers are also eliminated. And now restaurant managers are given the profit and loss responsibility. Criticisms on the other hand, there are too much focus on efficiency and using BPR as a pretext for a large scale redundancy. Even if you are using BPR, but there's a large scale unemployment that is happening. A lot of staff are being laid off. Next, assumption implicit in BPR is that existing process. We always go by the belief when we go for BPR that existing process is not effective. Not always the case. Sometimes it might be effective. BPR is just a buzzword that became fashionable in 1990s to describe something that was not new. For example, the changes that are made to the factory in 1920s by Henry Ford is also a type of BPR. Now, business integration. What is the meaning of business integration? It means the result of viewing an organization as a linked group of business activities. See, when you're viewing an organization is what? It's a linked group of business process that adds value to customer. So you do not view it as a group of separate functional department. You can't say an organization is sales department, finance department, IT department separate. No, they are together. They are linked. They will be having a process which will add value to the customer. So in a functional structure, it's very easy for a business to lose sight of the fact that they are integrated, that they all are working towards a common goal. Okay. So business integration will help them to work towards a common goal, because they will look at all the business process holistically. That means the process that sales are doing, finance department are doing, IT are doing, they are what, they are linked, they are dependent on each other. Okay, no one team is responsible for the success of an organization. They all have to work together to achieve the corporate objective. Next, Porter's value chain. So to do business integration, we have to go through a model known as Porter's value chain. In my first lecture, we went through Porter's generic strategy and Porter's five forces. Now it's Porter's value chain, where we can add value. So here the chain will focus on an organization's value added activities rather than its structure. So go through this structure. There are 5 primary and 4 support activities under this model. Okay, you will not be told to draw this model, but knowing the components, what are the elements of this model is very important. So these are the primary activities, this 5. Inbound logistics, operation, output logistics, sales, marketing, service. This is the area where you can add value. Then these are the 4 support activities, as you can see. Firm infrastructure, human resource, IT, and procurement. Because without IT, without human, without having a good infrastructure and procurement, you can't, so an organization can't succeed. Okay. Now, let us go through the primary activities. So the primary activities, they are related to producing the product or a service. Inbound logistics. Inbound logistics are all your receiving, handling, and storing of goods, materials, and inputs for production. Operation. They will convert the input into output. Outbound. Delivering the product to customer. Marketing. Informing customers about the product. And after sales, it's about repairing product, or you are giving a replacement part after sales have taken place. Okay. Now, secondary activities, they support the primary activity. Procurement. It is related to buying inputs. You evaluate the reliability of your supply, you negotiate prices, you manage the lead time and quality standard. Next, technology development. You see whether the processes are improving or not. It helps in product design. Then HR. In recruiting, training, developing and rewarding people. And finally, firm structure. It supports activities such as management and finance. Okay. Now, use of the value chain. Value chain is a strategic planning model that management can use to analyze the critical success factor, and then they coordinate the activities of the various activities. So they link the primary and support activity. Through this value chain, how they are linked is clearly understood. So the value chain identifies critical success factor. It gives a structure for identifying a cost driver for activity-based costing ABC, and it can be used to analyze rivals for comparison purpose. Now, Exhibit 1, Starbucks. So Starbucks is an example of creating value, where they create value for customer. So through its operation, they are creating a connection throughout the world. They are granting a high quality flavor, and they are working to build a sustainable future. Starbucks have invested in coffee communities. They are sharing a agronomy practice and coffee knowledge. So the company have stated in their 2018 Global Social Impact Report that they are leveraging the technology to develop new approaches to ensure high quality coffee, and they are introducing a new traceability pilot project. If you see, the value chain of Starbucks is very complex, but they are ensuring that it will impress the customer. Starbucks are investing in a variety of coffee that comes from various locations like Latin America, Africa, Arabia, Asia, and Pacific. These are what inbound logistics, how the product is coming in the organization. Next, the company is then spending time to visit those coffee growers, and they are building long relationships. Starbucks are creating partnerships, in fact, all over the world to ensure the best coffees goes to the customer. And coffees are sold in the stores worldwide. It's an operation and also outbound logistics. You see how you're using the model value chain here in the Starbucks case? Yes. And another part of the value chain is you are interacting with customer and you are giving them a good service. So this is your marketing and sales. Okay. And also you are making sure that in the social media account you are communicating with your customer. So that's your marketing and sales. So alongside this process, Starbucks is also maintaining their HR, technology development, finance, and other operation. That is support service. Now, the value chain and sustainability. So when you're considering the organization's impact on the environment and their sustainability target, you look at the organization's whole chain, not just one part. So you have to require identifying different organizations and their activities that take place in the value chain, and you have to measure their impact also. For example, you might want to switch to a different supplier who are more environment friendly, or you want to use a supplier who are geographically closer to you to reduce carbon emission. So by screening and assessing the supplier, we'll have a ripple effect that improves sustainability also across the supply chain. So the exact screening process will vary, but it includes like this. You will see for those supplier who are clear and transparent and who will state their sustainability requirements. And it's an ongoing continuous assessment, not once you do it and you finish. No, keep on doing it. So you will always check for the sustainability practice of your supplier. Next, we are going through the 7S framework of McKinsey's. So he has designed a framework known as 7S because it all the 7 factors starts with S. This model will help you. Okay, it will assess how the various organizational element works together to achieve the strategy. So there are 7 internal factors. Okay, the model idea is that these factors have to be aligned for the has this factors objectives must be aligned for the organization's effectiveness. Factors are divided into 2 categories, hard or soft. Under the hard factor are those elements that easily you can identify, you can define, and you can control. They are strategy. First S stands for strategy, the plan to achieve a competitive advantage. Second S stands for structure, the organization structure. Third S stands for your system, organization's daily activities. So these 3 are hard factors because you can identify, you can clearly see them, you can define, and you can control. On the other hand, we have soft factor. The other 4 factors are soft factor. They are intangible, they are formless. So managers can influence them but can't directly control them. They are shared values. Okay. It's like the organization's culture and general work ethic. Next, skill. So here we'll go through the skill and the competences of the people who works for the organization. Next is style of the leadership and staff who works for the organization. So using the 7S framework. Okay, remember the 7 factors are interdependent on each other. So this is how the structure looks like with the shared value at the center. You need all this S for an organization to work. If one S is missing, organization cannot perform well. You need a structure, you need a system, you need a style, staff is needed, skill is needed, strategy is needed. Now, the model can be used to identify what areas needs to be aligned, ensure all factors remain aligned during a restructuring or change. Now, example 5, 7S framework example. So this is about a Fab car who is a state-owned car manufacturing business that is based in Homeland. During the ownership, state ownership, see under the state ownership, the quality of the car was not so good and company relied heavily on the state subsidy. Now the company is privatized and let's see what happens. So the new management team has been there in the Fab car. They have formulated a new mission that is to produce a high quality family car. So there were many changes that took place before this strategy became a reality. They are using the 7S framework to help them plan the change and identify some KPIs also. First, structure. You see? So here the factory is using traditional product line where each employee has a role. Now that is replaced by cell production. So each factory will be in the factory now they'll be organized into teams and KPIs. What are the KPIs? How will they measure this success? Based on the number of cars produced per week. Next is system. Existing system is traditional costing system, where they will go for budget and detailed variance analysis without considering quality. But the new system, they will go for quality related cost. So manager can monitor the cost of improving quality, that is conformance cost, and also the bad quality, that is failure cost. And KPIs that will measure is, will see the quality cost. Next S, style. So currently the relationship between the factory worker and management, they are not very constructive, but management is very much controlled. So here the middle level managers, they are working, they are watching the staff and they are monitoring the hours that is worked. With the new management system, they are very proactive culture where the staff members are motivated to take pride in their work. Okay, they are also taking part in this change. So the KPIs that would measure this style is the staff turnover and the number of ideas that is suggested by the factory staff. Next is staff. Management wishes to give staff more freedom and ensure that they support the change. For this, extensive staff training is needed. And they are also trying to keep the redundancy to a minimum. But it has also been agreed that employees who are resistant to this change will be made redundant. So KPIs will be the number of days that is lost due to absent, which is very currently high. Okay. Now skill. If you see, the new sales structure will require staff training because employees have to do a lot of tasks within their cell. So this will motivate the staff. The KPIs that is needed is certification system and the number of staff who will join the company based on basic skill certificate. And management has published a new guide to this proposed changes also. And they are doing some meetings so that they can communicate this to staff. The document will include a shared value section for commitment to quality. Now, information system. Information systems that were once thought as a back office function, now they are strategic resources that support the organization strategy. So information system exists in a dynamic environment. Now no one can escape that. Everywhere IT is there. So that's why management should be aware of this and they have to update themselves. A, organization is changing considerably. So additional IT knowledge is needed to manage new and changing area. Next, because technology are advancing, it is giving a new ways of doing business. Next, organization has to focus more on external environment. So they need the information system that can provide them with this information. Information system requirements will change over time. Okay, so organization has to continually refine and develop them to remain competitive. So information system and management accounting information system we are going to consider in detail in lecture 7. Now, the influence on performance measurement. How changing an organization's structure, culture, and strategy will have an influence on the new performance measurement structure. Organizations can adopt functional structure, division structure, or network structure. Okay, the one who adopts functional structure, they are not likely to embrace a change. Therefore, they are less likely to adopt new performance measurement system. So, in a heavily centralized structure, the managers will have insufficient authority to try new performance measurement methods. So more decentralized organization, line managers will have more responsibility and they will respond to change quickly. Culture, bureaucratic culture, where your job description will tell you what is your task and your work routines. If you go by that structure, it will restrict adopting new idea. But if your culture is very open and participative, they will encourage you to adopt new performance measurement. The difficulty is in finding the appropriate type of culture that best suits the organization need. For example, management's role is to construct a performance evaluation system and employ interactions that enables this culture to flourish. Now, Japanese has developed many of the manufacturing ideas in 1990s. For example, just in time, total quality management. Why? One partly because of geography, because they are saying that geographically their manufacturers are very far away. Next, partly it's there in their culture also. Japanese always believe in continuous improvement. Rather than a radical change, they will keep on continuous improvement. So it's like if it works, don't fix it. Culture will stifle new ideas. It's not like that if something works, you will not try to change it. That's not the culture of Japanese. If you do that, just because something is working, you don't want to change it, that culture will not let new ideas flourish. Okay. Each time you are doing a work, even if it's doing good also, you have to keep on doing it better and then better and better like that. Strategy. Organizations that operate in a competitive industry, they are pressured to adopt the latest manufacturing technology and supporting performance measurement system. So increasing focus on quality, innovation, customer satisfaction are the driver to adopt performance measurement methods that embraces non-financial measures also, such as balanced scorecard and performance pyramid that we'll cover in lecture 15. Now that's it for this lecture. We have covered. We are still in under section A of the syllabus, planning and strategic control. So here we have identified the needs of the organization that adopt functional, divisional or network form, and also their implications on performance management. Next, we assessed the changes to management accounting system in the traditional manufacturing compared to service industry. And then we have gone through the business processor re-engineering to improve the organizational performance. Now, we have analyzed the role that performance management system plays in the business integration using models such as value chain and McKinsey's 7S, where 3 are hard factor, the other 4 are soft factor. And value chain is divided into 5 primary activity, 4 secondary activity. Then we discussed how changing an organization's structure, culture, and strategy will influence the adoption of new performance measurement techniques. And we have finally assessed the need for business to continually refine and develop their management accounting and information system if they have to improve their competitive position. Now, management accounting methods depend on many variables. One is the structure of the business. If the business takes a functional structure, the management accounting method is information will flow vertically upward. If the business adopts division or network, management style is less detailed and more focused on the organization's objective. And business integration means all the different parts of business are coordinated, they work together on activities. An organization's structure, culture, and strategy will affect the extent to which new management accounting techniques are adopted. The following features will complicate the performance measurement in service business. First, simultaneity, perishability, heterogeneity, and intangibility. These are the 4 features of service. Simultaneously, you are consuming the service as it is produced. Perishability, you can't store the service. Heterogeneity, services are unique, its varieties are there, and intangibility, you can't touch a service. There are no technical articles as of now for this lecture. And thank you for watching, and I shall see you in the next lecture, lecture 6. You can watch my previous lectures of APM under my APM playlist. And do not forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and do share the content of my channel to your friends who are not aware that APM is now available on my channel. And also you can watch my PM lectures, which will be available soon. Thank you.